Hold on. Tell me a typhoon is coming. Sunny day tomorrow. 15th of the month is Firefly Festival. We need a typhoon. That's what we're waiting on. It's not going to be the day after tomorrow. So it'll have to be sometime after that. Let me see. Not good at writing. How do I develop my OCs? And do I have any tips for doing so? That's a good question. I don't know if I've ever thought about how I would recommend someone else going about doing it, to be honest. For me, I take like the basic concept of a character, like what kind of character I want them to be. For example, one of my characters, Alice, she was originally written as like a more exaggerated and like rambunctious version of Lucas. So I made her that. But then I didn't want her to just be a carbon copy of Lucas, so I was like, okay, what other character traits can I give her to differentiate her? And I was like, well, maybe she's a little more fiery. She's not as like, I don't know, maybe not the nicest term, but Lucas can be kind of oblivious. I was gonna say ditzy, but that's not right. He can be a little oblivious sometimes. So I thought, okay, well, she's less oblivious than Lucas. So I was like, okay, so she's a little more passionate about like, or a little more like rambunctious, a little more energetic, not as oblivious, but I wouldn't say that she's like a genius either. I was like, okay, what kind of things does she like? Well, she like, you know, she's very energetic, so she's like into sports. And then based off that, I was like, okay, what kind of backstory can I give her? And so one of the ideas I had was like, well, she likes sports, and part of that is because it's the only thing that she ever bonded over with her father. So there's a little bit of backstory for her. And so I just kind of build up based off of that. I think of like character traits, and then I think of like bits of their history or backstory that relate to those traits. And what I can do with each of those, and like how they come together to like build the person that they are now. And then like if they're gonna have a character arc, like, okay, where are they going? In Alice's case, because she's already gone through her character arc by the time she's in the story, I didn't really have to think about that. But like with Lucas, I'm like, okay, what kind of things will happen to him over the course of the story? How does he react? Because, you know, how I would react in that scenario is different from how Lucas would react. So he would have a different reaction. How does he react to each scenario, and how does he change as a result of that? It's not the easiest thing, but that's how I kind of think about it. I hope that helps a little bit. I'm not sure if that's how most people would go about developing an OC, but those are the kind of things that I think about while I'm writing a character and trying to decide how they would work and everything. And then also like, how do they interact with other characters? Like, okay, you know, Alice is very competitive. She's energetic. She's got that sports streak, and as a result of being into sports, she's also competitive. And so like she takes everything super seriously. She wants to win. So like on the surface, she's probably kind of grating for some people who don't know her as well. So initially she probably doesn't get along as well with the rest of the characters. But deep down, she's not a bad person or anything, so they'll warm up to her. And then I was like, well, she's super competitive about everything, so that would apply to games too. Main character doesn't care about most things, but with games, that's like his hobby. So he's probably kind of competitive about that as well. And he's probably really good. So I was thinking like, well, if they played a game together, Brandy would actually be good at it, and Alice would take it super seriously. So the two of them would probably develop some kind of friendly rivalry as a result. So I ended up writing a chapter based off of that concept. So that also applies to the way the characters interact as well. You know, just think about how their character traits would bounce off of each other. If I put these two characters in this scenario, how would they interact? You know, Lucas and Alice, because Alice was originally written as a more exaggerated version of Lucas, they have a lot of the same character traits, even though they are different and ended up more unique than originally was intended. Because they are both pretty energetic, and neither one are like have the best like impulse control, I guess. As a result, when you get both of them together, they can kind of get out of control, which can be overwhelming for either Brandy or Nicole if they have to deal with it. But then if you get Brandy and Nicole, who were both written originally, Nicole was written as a counterpart to Brandy, and they have a lot of traits as well, and they both can individually balance out Lucas and Alice. Then if you have all four of them together, then it returns a little closer to equilibrium. Although I think Alice and Lucas having stronger personalities, they'll magnify and they'll still end up a little more rambunctious than they would be out, like if it were just like one of them with Brandy or Nicole. So as a whole group, they're still a little more energetic than they would be individually, and I think that also rubs off on Brandy and Nicole, and so it raises their energy a little bit. But it still doesn't get as bad as it would be if it were just Alice and Lucas together, where they're just like, they would overwhelm either of the other two personality types for Brandy or Nicole. So I don't know, just think about the character dynamics as well, and how they get along with each of the other characters that you want to write. Anyway, sorry, long-winded response. Thank you for the advice. You're going to try and make an OC as well to join in with everyone else. Nice, nice. And like, you know, your OC will probably change over time. You know, as you get more ideas and stuff, they'll kind of grow. So, you know, if they start off a little basic at first, don't worry about it. It'll, you can always change things, and there's no worry about that. My Brandy changed a lot from when I first started writing, and you can definitely see that as the story progresses. He starts off very grumpy and standoffish and very nervous about what other people think, and over time he warms up a lot more to Lucas and other people. So yeah. That was really long-winded. I'm sorry. Very cool way to make an OC. They're a lot more focused on the story, and you think that's neat. Yeah, mine are also part of like a full story. So if you're just making characters to make characters, then you may not need to think about like character arcs and stuff. So it really depends on like what you're doing. Also in OCs, you can add in some stories for them that adds the character they are today. Yeah, like backstory, basically. That was great. It's nice to get into the mind of someone that's more experienced in writing. Aw, I'm glad it helped and it wasn't too rambly and confusing. Yeah, I've never had to like explain my thought process before, actually, so it was a little interesting. I was like, how do I go about this? Also, for me personally, and I know a lot of people don't go about this. Okay, you can't do days. Gotcha. I know a lot of people don't go about it this way, but for me, I write like for my story, I write snippets. I write individual snippets of like just dialogue or scenarios. Like if I have an idea, I'll just write down. Like at one point, I wrote down. It was literally just something really basic. It was like, Brandy, Lucas, and the group play Mario Party, and that was the entire thing I wrote down. And then like later on, I had ideas. Like I wrote like around that idea. So sometimes like just writing down like a note for like an idea, or I've done where I get an idea for a specific line of dialogue and I'll write that line down, and then I flesh out the story around it. That helps me personally, but I know not everyone's into that style of writing, so they don't do it that way, but that's another way you can go about it. Lots of ways to approach it, so just kind of find whatever works for you. Oh, it's my birthday in-game, I forgot. I forgot. You only worry about getting caught up on details and being worried about getting a tunnel vision about a certain fact of the character. Oh no, that's like fair. Yeah, the details can be... It can be easy to get hung up when writing on like trying to get everything perfect, or like focusing too much on a detail, but just have fun with it. You're not, unless you're trying to be like a professional writer, don't worry about it too much. Learning from the pro. I'm not a pro. I wish I was. one day, maybe I'll get my book published. Yeah, that is something I do worry about with my characters, actually, is tunnel visioning and reducing them too much to one trope. It was something I was especially worried about with Lucas early on, was making him just, like, really dumb looking. Because he's not dumb. I wanted to portray that, and it shows up later in the story. Lucas isn't dumb, but he usually doesn't stop to think. When he actually slows down and thinks about something, he's actually pretty insightful, and he's actually smart. He just doesn't come across that way because he's usually just like bouncing around from topic to topic like a little bird. So it doesn't always come across that Lucas is actually kind of smart, but he is, and I was worried that I wasn't portraying that properly. So when you do feel like you're tunnel visioning too hard on one point about a character, you can just think about like other scenarios where you can showcase different sides of the character. And that was with the jealousy chapter. Did I show the jealousy chapter? I don't remember. I don't think I shared that one on stream, but like with that one, that was a case because I felt like Lucas was too sappy, and like it wasn't showing any negative traits to Lucas. He seemed too perfect, so I wrote a whole chapter to showcase that Lucas isn't perfect. Sometimes he gets insecure and he gets jealous, and so I wrote a whole chapter about that. You know, just you can always find different ways to flesh out your character and make them more well-rounded. But yeah, before I forget, another example is when like last week or a week and a half ago, when we read the chapter of Suave Lucas, as I call it, that was another case where, you know, I wanted to showcase, you know, Lucas is romantic. He's not the best at it, but he does have a romantic side to him. So I wanted to showcase a little of that and try and show him trying to be like a little more mature and romantic instead of just cutesy romantic, you know? So there's that little snippet that I wrote, and I shared that when we did the Storytime redeem during the Kirby. So yeah, lots of little ways you can flesh out your characters. Anyway, what was I doing? We need to get fish. We need to get a fish. But yeah, sorry I rambled so much. You actually got me on a topic that I felt like I could actually yap about for a while there. Too many thoughts. Too many thoughts. We love the rambling. Thank you, I'm glad. Makes sense. Most of your OC start off as neat or cool concepts you find, then over time find points or connections to the OC that you might expand on the OC to the world that you want to make in. Yeah, that's another way to do it. I've had characters develop based off of a single concept as well. I mean, like even the one for Alice and Nicole, they were just supposed to be exaggerated counterparts, female counterparts to Brandon and Lucas. And then eventually I fleshed them out and made them a little bit more unique as characters, where they weren't just counterparts, but they still are counterparts. But they have more of their own personality as well. Other characters I've had that aren't in TCA, I've had characters that started off as like, oh, this one is just supposed to be based off of one of the 7 deadly sins. This one's just supposed to be, you know, based off of someone that I know. So, you know, you can get inspiration from all kinds of places. Closest thing you have to an OC is your Baldur's Gate character. No, that's understandable. Like, characters you make for, like, a game, that can become an OC. I've known people who started off making a character for that and then ended up taking them out of that series. Evie in the Discord server, and also comes around streams sometimes, usually when we're doing Pokemon stuff. But Evie has his character started off, if I recall correctly, his character started off as My Hero Academia OCs. They were just characters he designed for that, and then he ended up kind of spinning them off into their own thing. That happens all the time, so you know, you could definitely use your Baldur's Gate character as a frame of reference and develop based off of that. And you know, some people like me, Brandy is a self-insert. Not everyone likes self-inserts, but you can do self-insert. You can just make a character based off yourself, based off of, oh, this is like an idealized version of myself. But yeah, not everyone likes that kind of character, either to read or to make them. But that's another option. So there's really no wrong way to go about it, I don't think. His name is Farth. Nice. Yeah, I had a when I played D&D with friends one time, I had a self-insert character based off me that was named Dullaray Starshot, and he was super cool. He had he was an archer, he was a ranger, and he had a magic cape that he got from a clown genie, basically, who led a circus that they were staying at and traveling with. His magic cape let him fly, and so he flew up into the air during a duel with his father for the right to succeed as leader of the village, and his father had always looked down on him. So I rolled a crit 20, and he ended up shooting his father through the eye, and it was very, very cool. Very cool guy. Much cooler than actual Brandy. But yeah, so that was a D&D character that was just an OC. You can do all kinds of things with OCs. No wrong way to approach it. According to Brandon, getting shot in the eye is very cool. No, it wasn't him getting shot in the eye. It was him shooting someone in the eye that was cool. Because it was poetic. Because his father had spent all his life looking down on him. And so his final act of defiance was to blind the eyes that had always looked down on him. And that's just cool. That's poetic writing. And like that's another OC thing, right? He could have aimed the shot anywhere he wanted, but playing in character, the thing that always bugged him about his father was feeling like he was looked down on. So, in character, what's the most poetic way to deal with someone who's always looked down on you? Blind them. Now they can't look down on you. That was the thought process with the writing of that scenario. I think I should maybe clip that. I should probably clip that AMA though. Where I rambled about OCs. That'd be a pretty good highlight clip. It's a little too long to be like a regular highlight, but I could probably clip that and just make it like a maybe a standalone video or something. I don't know. Little mini vid. Yeah, exactly. Post it on the main channel or something. Brandy yaps about OCs. You awake to hear mayo? Yeah, see, look, special mayonnaise. Mayonnaise made with special eggs. The special ingredient? What's the special ingredient for the mayonnaise? What ingredient would make the mayonnaise special? Time? Well, time is money. Ba-ba-da-ba-ba-ba. Oh my goodness, too many eggs. Special eggs that come from boy chickens? I don't know if that's a thing. I don't know if that's a thing, but I don't know. We can ask Zhao. Let's ask Zhao about it. Take my eggs. Take Brandy's eggs.